It would appear Mark Carney's cabinet is beginning to fall apart.
I have a number of questions about the substance of the MOU, but I do have to start off on the resignation of your cabinet colleague, your now former cabinet colleague, Minister Guilbeault. Did it take you by surprise?
Look, Minister Guilbeault is a friend. I respect him greatly. He's been a very valued member of cabinet. I understand he's going to continue to be a valued member of caucus. And I think that's good for Canada.
He is going to remain in caucus, but his statement is very, very specific in its criticism of the MOU just signed. In fact, he concludes it essentially by saying that the MOU, in conjunction with all the climate policies that have been walked back, are essentially why he arrived at this decision. Your portfolio is obviously overseeing energy and natural resources. Did it put you at odds with Minister Guilbeault, given the interest that he lays out here?
No, I don't think so. Look, I think the Prime Minister has been very clear. We're at a hinge moment. We have an economic rupture in the world, given what America is doing. Nostalgia, as the Prime Minister says, is not a strategy. We need to respond to that. We need a secure and economically sovereign country. That means responsibly developing our energy and natural resources. That means diversifying our economy and building new trading relationships with people other than the United States. And we need to do that in partnership with partner provinces, territories, and Indigenous peoples. We share those goals. Those are the same goals that Alberta has. What the MOU does is lay out how we do that with Alberta.
How do you expect, though, Minister, Canadians to accept the premise that you just put forward if you can't even have all of Cabinet on the same page?
So I think this is a win from an environmental perspective. We get, as part of this agreement, we get agreement on an industrial carbon price. We all know that is the most effective way to get to net zero. This was not working well in Alberta before this agreement. We now have a path for that to be working well. We get agreement on the building of the Pathways project, the largest single carbon capture, utilization, and storage facility in the world, the biggest project in the world. We will be the first country in the world to step change the carbon intensity of our oil and gas industry, dramatically reducing it. It would take the equivalent of 4.75 million cars a year off the roads. That is a win. We get agreement on methane regs. Methane is 4 times more polluting than carbon dioxide. This is the most economically efficient way to drive towards net zero. We get cooperation on environmental assessments, where in the past we weren't working constructively with Alberta. If we get to a pipeline, we have agreement that we will use Canadian steel. That is a win for Canada. And we get agreement on closer interties between the grids across Canada, in particular between Alberta and British Columbia and Alberta and Saskatchewan. Those are all wins.
And I take your point on all of that. If though, in the aggregate, in your point off the bat about this being a win for climate were true, would Minister Guilbeault not still be in cabinet? And I'll use just one example. You brought up the industrial carbon price. I interviewed Premier Smith right after this announcement, and I asked her multiple times, literally over and over again, if a pipeline, a new pipeline, isn't constructed, which is a possibility because there might not be a private proponent, do you still agree that the industrial price on carbon will increase? She would not unequivocally say yes, and I asked her over and over again. Is this really the win on climate that you're saying it is?
So the Memorandum of Understanding lays out a path. It lays out a process for getting to those shared objectives, creating a more economically sovereign economy, about diversifying our trade away and building new trade partners in addition to the United States, and by doing it in partnership with provinces and territories. At the end of the MOU are a series of work items. They're all laid out there clearly with timelines. We have work to do. This is going to be a lot of work. This is going to, but that's what Canadians want. They don't want people to dream nostalgically about the past or pretend there's a magical solution. They want people who are willing to do the hard work and try and make our country more secure, stronger, working to grow our resources. That's what they want us to do. That's what the MOU lays out.
Are people, though, Minister, who care about the climate, particularly to the degree that Steven Guilbeault does, just nostalgic?
I believe we are at a time where the world is in a very difficult place. Our economy is in a difficult place. We need to do both. We need to grow our natural resources, and we need to do it in an environmentally responsible way. We need to do it in partnership with provinces and Indigenous peoples. The MOU lays out the path for doing that. It will be hard work. It would be nice if we didn't need to do that hard work, but we need to do that hard work. And Canadians expect us to do that. That's what this government's going to do.
Why wasn't more of the hard work done on the partnership front when it comes to BC in particular in advance of today's signing? Premier Eby, has staked out a very clear position. He said he learned, for example, last week of the prospect of what could be in this MOU from reading about it in the paper. Why didn't your government do more to bring him and his government into the fold in order to ensure that the prospect for whatever you do want to see go ahead from an economic perspective actually happens? Was that a mistake?
So this government works with all of the provinces and territories. Our Prime Minister regularly talks with all of the premiers. I talk with all of my counterparts. I know our Minister of Environment does the same with her counterparts. I will be going to British Columbia tonight to meet with my counterparts and meet with the Premier tomorrow. What I can tell you is this agreement is very clear. We need to work together with British Columbia. It's part of the agreement. It calls for a trilateral table to advance things. And it is very clear that to do some of the things Alberta wants to do, it needs to work with British Columbia. That's something that Danielle Smith has said she wants to do, and she's committed to doing.
Guilbeault resigning from cabinet is a good thing, but sadly, yes, he will still remain in caucus. And I'm beginning to wonder how many more will follow suit with him. Anyway, I want to know what you think down in the comment section below, and have a good one.